families, and to all the women in restricted lives, like the tragedies we've heard in Afghanistan, where a woman isn't allowed in education. So this is a tribute to all the women in the world. Woman, sweet like summer corn, you're a woman, and to the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. You're sister of mine. You serve the old, you raise the young, you cut the stars when they were flung into the sky, you heal the sick, you feed the poor.
Why should we have a conference about the maternal roots of the gift economy? There's been so much discussion about the gift economy lately, but the important part of the maternal roots has not been investigated at all. However, by connecting the mothering with the gift economy, we get a whole new perspective on what the gift economy is and on what mothering is. And we also can combine two important aspects of injustice: poverty and the exploitation of women.
Il vostro tema, il tema del vostro convegno è particolarmente suggestivo. Voi siete impegnate a studiare l'economia del dono, le sue radici nella pratica materna e nelle relazioni primarie, e ne mettete in luce gli aspetti radicalmente alternativi al mercato e al patriarcato.
Parlando all'inizio di questo convegno, mi sono data il compito di evocare le nostre più antiche antenate, ed è per questo che ho scelto il tema delle signore del Paleolitico. La loro intelligenza ha permesso all'umanità di arrivare fin qua. Per decine di migliaia di anni le numerose testimonianze che sono arrivate fino a noi attraverso l'arte rupestre di pressoché tutti i continenti ci mostrano immagini ricorrenti di contiguità con e di dipendenza dal mondo naturale dei gruppi umani, mentre i corpi femminili, nudi e formosi, alludono più direttamente alla ciclicità e ai ritmi della vita, che appunto, se mantenuti in equilibrio, permettono e garantiscono la continuazione della creazione che non è un fenomeno avvenuto all'inizio della storia del cosmo, una volta per tutte, ma è un qualcosa che si rinnova momento per momento, che tutti abbiamo il compito di portare avanti. Al tempo stesso risulta evidente che a partire dalla notte dei tempi il principio vitale, la sorgente prima di ogni manifestazione di vita, fosse primariamente percepita come femminile. Quindi le nostre antenate avevano anche accumulato una sapienza perfetta, cioè la sapienza che era necessaria per poter sopravvivere facendo, buon uso dei doni di madre natura. Il pensiero scientifico nasce sull'abbruciamento di quelle donne che avevano continuato a mantenere questa conoscenza dal Paleolitico in poi. Cioè c'è Zeus che ammazza Cecrope è un passaggio, il primo passaggio, poi c'è stata una serie infinita di passaggi, e il Rinascimento italiano che viene decantato come l'inizio della vera civiltà, in realtà è uno dei punti più tragici della storia dell'umanità. Il desiderio della scienza, cioè del progetto scientifico, è esattamente quello di fare a meno del corpo delle donne per mantenere in vita l'umanità.
Since Simone de Beauvoir, motherhood became a problem, perhaps the problem for women. De Beauvoir and then Shulamit Firestone, Betty Friedan and others viewed motherhood as the root of women's oppression and advocated a free access to birth control that, together with the right for abortion, became the symbols of liberation. What this feminist said was, in fact, that men's freedom is connected to the inability to bear children. These propositions strip women of their unique trait, the ability to give life. In this way, the home is turned into the main location of women's oppression, and whatever outside the home, especially work, is the promised land where liberation is assured. Many Western women took this discourse seriously and adopted different ways that limit their motherly responsibility. This path strengthened the patriarchal ambition to eliminate motherhood. By advancing ideas of women empowerment through work and equality in the labor market, Western mainstream feminism accepts the logic of capitalist patriarchy. But work does not offer independence, since it means overgrowing dependence on the market and on capitalist culture. Motherhood studies, if I may call them this way, unlike mainstream or equality feminism, is trying to transform the category of human from within through remateriation and the symbolic order, as well as the entire political, economic, and social order through gift economy, matriarchal legacy, spirituality, and life rather than goods production.
Motherhood is an institution. It was institutionalized so that reproduction can be controlled. And it was individualized. So now only the biological mother is responsible, which causes a lot of problems. And also she's completely overwhelmed. We have an unbalanced distribution of household and child rearing. And when you compare paid work and unpaid work, women work always more. Now, as we know, reproductive technology tries to substitute the mother artificially by splitting up the women who now, by example, we have the genetic mother who provides the egg, we have the surrogate mother who gestates the fetus, and the social mother who raises the child. There are many more types now also, and the point is that motherhood is getting now arbitrary as fatherhood always was. Motherhood is a collective principle. It's a collective caring, and the whole and community, and people have to understand that it's the duty of the society to care for the children and not individualize it to mothers. I find it even a crime to leave mothers alone with their children, because then we have all these terrible side effects like violence, like children blaming the whole life the mother was too much here or not enough. In a matriarchal society, there are always other women around, and they will help. They are getting not neuroticized. This is what I would say is the gift community, or this is how I understand it, that the community is responsible for all the children and not the mother alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
What I've tried to do is to develop and transmit a feminism for and about mothers. I have turned this, and this may not translate well, I have termed this feminism a matricentric feminism. Basically, I use matricentric feminism to distinguish it as a distinct politic and theory for and about mothers. It's been said that motherhood is the unfinished business of feminism. It deeply troubles me that feminists are able to understand the intersectionality of gender depression when it comes to race, class, sexuality, geographical location, but they don't understand it for motherhood. Why are non-mother feminists not capable of doing the same for us as mothers in feminist theory? Why is motherhood not acknowledged as a subject position in constituting our gendered identities? Why do we not see maternity as an interlocking structure of oppression, but also of empowerment? I ask that matricentric feminism be recognized as a distinct feminist standpoint, and that it be included in the theory, scholarship, and our teaching, And as a mother-centered feminist, we are recognized as feminists, and that as such, we are entitled to a feminist scholarship of our own, indeed, a room of our own in the home of feminism.
I am Chang Pilwa, and this is
Sanghwa Lee.
We are from Ewha Women's University, located in Seoul, Korea. This university is one of the largest women-only universities in the world, and we are both in feminist studies. As academics, we practice gift economy through theorizing, articulating, and disseminating the ideas, helping the process of consciousness raising for people. What we do is that we ask students to think about, to remember the free gifts we have had all throughout our lives. And people come up with the ideas like air, water, food, shelter, provided freely by nature, and also knowledge common to humanity, like a calendar and so many other things which you don't have to pay for that knowledge, for the use of that knowledge. The task of introducing gift economy is to contrast it with the exchange economy. And we are saying that market economy is not natural, nor inevitable, nor necessary, but invented by patriarchy and capitalism and globalism. But we are raised to learn the logic of exchange as the most important logic for survival and success. Exchange paradigm creates scarcity artificially by a few wealthy people concentrate the wealth, or by creating wars. And this sense of scarcity creates very negative relationships. So the other is my enemy. A gift paradigm, on the other hand, is based on the direct satisfaction of needs in the unilateral gift giving and other-oriented, and it's mostly qualitative, and it's in a win-win situation.
The market as a logic of masculation is a concept that I have adopted from Genevieve. Like the masculated ego, the market is an artificial psychosocial-linguistic invention. Like the ego, it needs to receive value directly from gift-giving, while at the same time competing with it and winning. Now it seeks to extend its tentacles to legislative channels, not only by lobbying, but by European, North America, transatlantic trade investment, and other free trade treaties, which are really threatening because they represent questionable freedoms only for corporations while robbing European nation states of their own legislative power. So the core values of the post-democratic neoliberal masculation agenda include efficiency, competitiveness, of course, achieved by reducing any care-related feminized extras. In other words, there's a push now to get rid of anything that eats the profits. So, in other words, you will change the diapers of the elderly less often because you need to be efficient. So the ecofeminist critique of all this emasculated politics includes many recognitions from the gift economy movement. I feel that one of the reasons for the failure of the left across the world is its failure to recognize the full importance of the gift. And I find it problematic for any party to do revisionist politics instead of thinking and institutionalizing a radically alternative paradigm for an ecocentric way of life.
Allora, la parte interessante del libro per me, potrei dire il dono più grande, è quella in cui Genevieve Vaughan si occupa del linguaggio. Si comprende facilmente che il linguaggio è centrale nelle interazioni umane. Queste interazioni umane, per quanto in superficie basate sullo scambio, o meglio basate sullo scambio solo ad una visione superficiale, sono in realtà strutturate come dono. C'è alla base di tutte le interazioni umane un'interazione fondamentale, quella della madre con il bambino, della madre che lo nutre, e questo nutrimento è anche ciò che Genevieve Vaughan evidenzia con l'espressione nutrimento verbale, verbal nurturing. Senza l'interpretazione del linguaggio come dono non è possibile spiegare, se non in maniera parziale, e anche in questo caso ricorrendo a facoltà innate, l'immaginario umano. L'idea centrale nella concezione del linguaggio come dono di Jane Vaughan è quella secondo la quale sul nutrimento verbale della madre, sul donare vocale, verbale si basa, come lei dice, l'intera vita. Se si vuole dire in sintesi che cos'è questo libro, di che cosa si occupa, si potrebbe dire addirittura che è una critica dell'economia politica nel senso marxiano, fondata però sull'economia del dono e in ultima analisi sul dono materno del linguaggio.
So my solution to what our problems are is that we need to diminish the whole exchange mode, which is actually making us into worse people, and recreate a new economy, a new society, a new culture on the basis of the mother-child interaction. And I think that the societies, the cultures of indigenous people did that much more than we do, because they didn't have the market that was broadcasting the image of exchange all the time. And the money, too, which I talk about a lot in the book, has become an instrument of patriarchy, or an image of patriarchy, as the one who controls the many. And that image propagates in our society to the king who controls the subjects, and to all the father who controls the family. All of these different images throughout our society, and even in the warring countries, each one trying to become the one above, and to make more money, and to subject and turn into a maternally giving position the person, the country on the bottom, and giving to the one on the top.
Sheia tachini nashli aro ashi ibashichin ma'dish gajne dashanale klaushi dashiche agat aus dani nashli. And so I'm telling you about my mother's clan and my father's clan, my father's father's clan, and my mother's father's clan. And so sometimes I joke and I say that's my spiritual GPS coordinates. This incredible relative, Tatanka Oyate, symbolizes the giveaway in many ways. It represents food, clothing, and shelter. And we say that the buffalo actually knows that it's going to give itself to us. And the buffalo gives itself to us very willingly. There's such a profound understanding of love and reciprocity represented by this beautiful being. This beautiful being also represents being able to be a human being in this material world with all of its needs, but to conduct yourself with a spiritual understanding. And so this buffalo has been a great teacher to me. You know, in the Lakota perspective, we talk about the hoop of life. And every life form gets to have their place on that hoop, is given, is gifted, if you will, is gifted a place on that hoop. And the five-fingered ones, we have one place on that hoop. Somebody said it yesterday. The thing about the hoop is if one member of that circle bails out on the plan, the integrity of the hoop begins to fail. It's reliant on all members. And so I think about it and I think, so we are part of that hoop. We were gifted that place. So we must be designed. We must be a part of this plan. We're designed for thriving life. So to the men, I want to say to you, the more that I have come to attend to my capacity as the feminine, the more grateful I have become for your capacity as the masculine. Thank you, thank you, thank you for those beautiful gifts that you hold. My prayer for you now is to pray that you will be just as powerful as you can possibly be. And it took me a long time to be able to make that prayer for you because to make that prayer for you in the way I was understanding the world would be to cut my own throat. But now I can make that prayer for you. And this has been the beauty, is a reunion with the masculine by understanding who I am as the feminine. And now my prayer is for you to be as powerful as you can possibly be in service to thriving life. In service to thriving life. That's what the plan is.
Thank you, Pat.
Oh.
For me, a very important aspect is the idea of consciousness. I believe consciousness plays a very powerful role in relation to matter and materiality. One of my anti-apartheid struggle heroes who gave his life in his 30s for my liberation, he said during the 1970s, when I was just very, very small, that the most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the minds of the oppressed. Unless we free our mindsets or our consciousness, we'll remain enslaved, whether it be to colonialism, to patriarchy, to capitalism, to whatever enslaves us. And this is the core aspect for me in our relations with one another. How are we challenging our oppressed mindsets to liberate ourselves in every moment of every day? So my mother's mother is Khoisan, what anthropologists call Bushmen, people who live in the bush. The word Khoi, the root of the word Khoi, the root of the word San, it literally means people, not man, but people. So calling oneself Khoi San, or Khoi Khoi, as some of my best friends are, it merely means that you are people of people, a person who belongs to other people, who exists because of other people, where you locate the individual in the collective and the collective in the individual. And neither one part, the individual nor the collective, are divisible, like an egg, where beginning and end are all one.
The practice of giving and the opportunity of giving, we all have it and we know it, but the way I do it, or the way at least I practice, I know it's rooted in ways that I was taught. And Teranga is one of them in Wolof. And when people say that you have Teranga or you know Teranga, it means basically that you are graceful and you give, what you really have is what you gave. Like whatever you can't give, it's almost like you don't completely own it, and people are judged or known or connected to how much they can, be connected to people. And the gift can be material, and I think it's almost never really material, because the material is the symbol, is what symbolizes the link and the connection and gets and gets passed down. So even in giving and doing all this, I have to say that the colonized mind and the patriarchy and everything has also got in my mind, and I was until very recently very judgmental about some of the practices of giving in my own community. And more and more I've been, paying attention to that and, going to some of the ceremonies and sit down and just see the beauty, the interaction, the pleasure, because actually they're having fun.
L'amore incondizionato, la solidarietà, la reciprocità, la condivisione e la cura per l'altro, così come l'assenza di violenza, di gelosia e di matrimonio nella società Moso, non sono separati dagli altri aspetti della loro cultura né dalla struttura familiare e sociale che affida la leadership alle donne e soprattutto alle madri. Questo modello, oltre a prendere in considerazione i bisogni dell'individuo, non trascura però quelli della collettività, che sono tenuti in massima considerazione. In realtà è la struttura matrilineare e matriarcale della società che fa sì che questi valori si traducano in doni concreti e circolino in modo che sia tutta la comunità a trarne beneficio e non solo il singolo individuo. Non si può avere rispetto della natura senza pensare alla sacralità della sua creazione. Ancor meno si può pensare alla creazione senza pensare alla funzione creatrice e creativa delle donne che qui hanno saputo creare un modello di vita rispettoso dell'altro, insegnando ai figli e figlie la maniera in cui si può essere materni anche se non si è madri genitrici o padri biologici. Un principio che esclude l'individualismo e l'aggressività e qualsiasi tipo di discriminazione e riesce a far funzionare un modello di società che, separando la vita familiare da quella amorosa, risponde a due bisogni fondamentali della natura umana. Da un lato la protezione affettiva e economica proveniente dall'appartenenza alla famiglia materna e dall'altro lato la libertà di amare, di un amore incondizionato, non vincolato alla classe sociale o alla situazione economica del compagno o della compagna. Nella nostra società spesso la maternità è vissuta come un ostacolo alla carriera e all'emancipazione o addirittura come forma di schiavitù. Presso le donne Moso, invece, grazie al concetto di maternità allargata a tutti i componenti della famiglia, non solo la madre, ma anche la nonna, le sorelle, i fratelli e gli zii è come se fossero tutti madri, cioè regalano al bambino le cure materne necessarie e regalano alla madre genitrice naturalezza e libertà nel vivere la sua maternità.
Matriarchies are not just a reversal of patriarchy, with women ruling over men as the usual misinterpretation would have it. Matriarchies are mother-centered societies, and they have no hierarchies, no classes, no domination of one gender over the other. They are based on maternal values, caretaking, nurturing, motherliness, which holds for everybody. In matriarchies, motherhood, which originates as a biological fact, is transformed into a cultural model. At the social level, matriarchal societies are based on the prototype of the mother as the giver of gifts. This means maternal values are seen as spiritual principles that humans take from nature. Matriarchal economy is a subsistence economy. There is no such thing as private property, and there are no territorial claims. Women have the power of disposition over goods and clan houses, and especially over the sources of nourishment, fields and flocks. The clans practice perfect mutuality. Every relative advantage or disadvantage in terms of acquiring goods is mediated by social guidelines. For example, at the seasonal festivals of the agricultural year, clans that are comparatively better off will invite all the inhabitants to be their guests. They give away their goods as gifts to all their neighbors. Since this is the general attitude of all people and all clans, I define matriarchies at the economic level as societies of economic mutuality based on the circulation of gifts. The patterns of the political level follow the principle of consensus, which means unanimity regarding each decision. At the spiritual and cultural level, in matriarchies, divinity is immanent, for the whole world is regarded as divine, as feminine divine. In such a culture, everything is spiritual, so the everyday tasks also have ritual significance. In this sense, matriarchal societies are sacred ones. So, I define at the cultural level matriarchies as sacred societies and cultures of the goddess or divine feminine.
What I'm going to talk to you is about Nachira, which is an eco-village in Colombia based on the gift economy. On a 3-hectare site in Colombia, 88 women victims of the Colombian conflict and their families have built a sustainable and productive eco-village. They produce their own organic food and specialize in activities such as plantain growing, non-food products, manufacturing of ceramic ware, a solar restaurant, and different crops and plants as free gifts from Mother Nature. Colombia is in the process of concluding a peace process after 65 years of civil war. We need to reinvent Colombia with communities of peace. There will be 30,000 or more ex-combatants and many displaced communities going back to their previously owned rural land, which needs a model of society where peace prevails based on different paradigms. We don't want peace with gangs and distorted people, whose only alternative is to go back and kill, like happened in Salvador, Guatemala, or South Africa. The new Colombia needs communities where women's values are the rule and not the exception, matriarchal communities based on the gift economy. But for that dream to come true, we need Nachira to be successful.
My first conscious encounter with gift culture was I was with a very amazing woman healer in Rajasthan. Her name was Pratapi Bai. And I saw that, she was using medicinal plants from our region and healing. And there was lots of people in the villages coming to her for healing. And at that time I was still kind of under the influence of this investment banking, entrepreneurship, business culture. So I thought, oh wow, this is a great, local entrepreneurship, opportunity for her. She can make a lot of money from this and things. And so I started talking to her, and she said, no, this is not for sale. This is a gift, and it's a gift, a divine gift I've received, and it's with a deep sense of love and care that I share it with my community and all of those around me. And I noticed something which really shook me on another level, that most of these women were uneducated. And it seemed to me, I couldn't understand, all of these people who had been educated were not connecting to this, were not getting this. It was so obvious to me. And so I started thinking that, what if education, modern industrial, what I call factory schooling, what if it's not the solution, but it's actually one of the greatest crimes against humanity? Education is telling us all the time we are not competent to grow with our children. We're not competent to, our communities are, horrible places where you can't trust each other anymore, and you can't trust your neighbors anymore. And so we need to have these institutions which are going to supposedly create trust in our lives and our societies, but we can see it's not really happening. So I started thinking that, what does a gift culture university look like? The gift culture university we have in India is called Swaraj University. And Swaraj means deep harmony of the self. And the self, not just the individual self, but also the interconnected self. What we've tried to do is create a space for, one, healing the damage that has been done to us by modern education. That is one of the main spaces. And second thing I would say is the nurturing, a space for nurturing each other. Third dimension is space of what we call co-learning. So everybody is a teacher and everybody is a learner in that space. And I think the purpose of the university is very different from what modern universities are today. It is to understand our gifts and understand how to share our gifts with the world.
Se si legge il web come una tecnologia sostanzialmente neutra, è anche vero però che le donne, soprattutto all'inizio, quindi sostanzialmente negli anni 90, dovevano in qualche modo appunto stare in luoghi appartati e hanno infatti costruito dei veri e propri, ginecei digitali in cui ci si incontrava ed è stato proprio qui che sono iniziate le differenze nel comportamento maschile e femminile in rete. In rete le donne negli anni 90 che cosa facevano sostanzialmente? Costruivano delle comunità intorno a dei problemi di ordine sanitario, parlavano di maternità molto già all'epoca, ma adesso ancora di più, e costruivano dei primi siti di auto mutuo aiuto, quindi in qualche modo anche vicini alla logica del dono, però dei luoghi appunto gendered, molto fortemente connotati da un punto di vista del genere. Si tratta però di un'epoca che è finita. Cioè dal 2000 in avanti sostanzialmente la diffusione della rete ha fatto superare, la grossa questione quantitativa del gender digital divide. Però non sono state superate altre cose, no? Vi dicevo, è il comportamento in rete che è molto diverso. Purtroppo nelle comunità del free software o del software open, adesso non stiamo a fare poi tutte le varie questioni, comunque le donne sono pochissime, addirittura l'1,5%.
I'm going to be talking about this notion of kapwa. This notion of kapwa is at the very core of indigenous Filipino culture. Kapwa means the self in the other. It means that I cannot know who I'm being in the world without another. And when I am in relationship to you, I know my truest self. Filipinos are never alone in its truest sense because we're always connected. We have this notion of not only kapwa, but we have this notion of pakiki pagkapwa, which is the interconnectedness. And that interconnectedness is related to all things animate and inanimate, all things that are on this earth and within the universe itself. In this notion of kapwa, the highest level of development in the Filipino people, when looking from inside the culture itself, is considered to be a cosmic matrix of being. Our notion of ourself and our levels of relationships are about 8 levels deep. We have outsider relationships and we have insider relationships. All of those, in all of those places, we can never get away. There's no away. So there can be no enemy because you are another myself. Kapwa psychology is this notion that we must give. We cannot not gift because we are ourselves. That's it.
Dal mio punto di vista di studiosa, praticante dello sciamanesimo femminile,
Ritengo che il dono sia un concetto cardine proprio delle pratiche sciamaniche delle donne, cioè uno di quei concetti che è bene andare a rispolverare per capire quale era lo spirito che animava e che anima ancora queste pratiche. Per troppo tempo ci hanno trasmesso un'idea di sciamanesimo accordata al neutro maschile che ha poco a che vedere con il significato originario. Quello che possiamo proprio sintetizzare qui è che la visione maschile dello sciamanesimo ha messo in evidenza le doti fantasmagoriche degli sciamani, le personalità egocentrate ed eccentriche, il ruolo sociale e politico e nella versione moderna, cioè quella che arriva oggi dalla New Age, secondo me anche il percorso spirituale di guarigione come crescita personale individuale. Credo che quasi nessuno si sia mai chiesto che cosa erano e sono le cerimonie gestite dalle donne. Anche quando le donne non conducono un rituale, preparano delle offerte. Ma in tutti questi millenni in cui gli uomini hanno avuto il ruolo di capi politici e spirituali, non si è compreso il significato dell'offerta, secondo me. Le culture indigene e contadine sono rimaste più vicine alla concezione ciclica della natura e hanno mantenuto il significato più autentico, più originario di rituale come dono. Nell'ottica occidentale questo tipo di dono aveva un fine utilitaristico, quindi è stato banalizzato nel concetto di scambio, perciò noi prepariamo questo rituale, prepariamo questo dono, ma in realtà lo facciamo con un obiettivo, cioè per ottenere in cambio qualcosa. E in effetti dopo un rituale noi qualcosa riceviamo, però non è quello lo scopo del rituale. Il rituale appunto non è scambio, ma in un'ottica ciclica matriarcale è primariamente dono e ringraziamento e celebrazione.
Those of us who live in modern Western cultures have lost touch with the natural. We've been brainwashed with propaganda that encouraged us to cut our ties with nature and utilize all the so-called modern conveniences provided by our capitalist consumer cultures. But natural healing comes from the mystery, not from science. It utilizes and partakes of invisible and non-rational forces. All over the world for tens of thousands of years, healing has been done in communities through group ritual and ceremony, and individually through prayers and interventions by specialists whose alterations in consciousness facilitate contact with the invisible world. To begin to understand how this kind of group healing works, we can go back to our oldest ancestors. The synchronized presence of the whole community celebrates the healing power's existence. And it is this powerful group magic that I have attempted to adapt for our more fragmented and fast-paced Western lifestyles. The ritual demonstrates the existence of a unified field of healing force, which we can tap into and bring down into our community, and where for an hour or so we can feel connected as our habitual sense of separation is erased. When we were developing the healing ritual in my Berkeley laboratory, what took us by surprise was the spontaneous heat that arose in our individual bodies and suffused the group, so that the room became like a sauna. But the Khoisan in southern Africa also describe the boiling up of an energy that they call num, or nom. They have cultivated this magical ability and have specialists in their communities who are called to the work and who train for many years to be profound healers using the nom. It would seem that science is now corroborating what those of us practicing female shamanism have known experientially for decades, and what indigenous people have always known and practiced for millennia.
che cos'è la reciprocità? Esistono diverse forme di reciprocità, esistono varie figure di reciprocità. Alcune di queste figure sono incompatibili con il dono, alcune forme di reciprocità credo che siano compatibili. Vorrei sfiorare questa questione della reciprocità ricorrendo a un episodio di vita quotidiana. Dopo una cena in casa, chi laverà i piatti? Di fronte a questa prova dei piatti, le reazioni che può avere una coppia sono diverse. Ciascuno cerca di scaricare i piatti all'altro. Perché? Perché sente che tocca sempre a lui. Questo sentimento negativo può anche trasformarsi in accusa, anche in una volontà di rivalsa. Questa relazione, così come si dà in quella sera, è caratterizzata da una reciprocità negativa, che manifesta delle difficoltà, dei problemi. Insomma, quella sera in quella casa manca il dono. Di fronte ai piatti da lavare la coppia potrebbe anche reagire diversamente. Vengo così alla seconda figura di reciprocità. Cioè dire oggi tocca a te, domani tocca a me. Allora, in questo caso, questa coppia, i due, osservano la regola del dare e rendere puntualmente. Questo tipo di reciprocità si chiama reciprocità alternata, ma un legame personale, come quello che c'è tra chi vive insieme, non può essere ridotto a un legame contrattuale, non può essere ridotto a un dare e rendere puntuale. Questo secondo stadio, in cui è la componente dello scambio che conduce il gioco, viene superato quando la relazione si caratterizza invece per una reciprocità positiva. Cioè si realizza un flusso di generosità che va dall'uno all'altro, dall'altro a uno, e questa generosità nutre e consolida queste due persone. La reciprocità donante è l'unica reciprocità che riesce a tenere insieme due finalità: la riuscita del proprio sé, il fiorire del proprio sé, e la riuscita al fiorire della persona dell'altro. Solo così può nascere e crescere un legame di riconoscimento. Io credo che, infatti, il legame del riconoscimento sia il fine del dono. Grazie.
Perché mai tra famiglia e lavoro ci deve essere conflitto? Eppure nessuno mai solleva questa questione, perché si dà per scontato che debba essere la famiglia e dentro la famiglia la donna ad adeguarsi alle esigenze dell'impresa. Ora, questa impresa di cui si parla è l'impresa di tipo capitalistico. L'impresa di tipo capitalistico ha come obiettivo la massimizzazione del profitto, che tutti sanno. Ma che cosa postula la massimizzazione del profitto? L'efficienza. Allora, l'efficienza non ha posto per la categoria della cura e tantomeno del dono. Ecco allora perché parlare di politiche di conciliazione vuol dire insabbiare completamente la logica del dono, perché la logica del dono non potrà mai essere categorizzata dentro lo schema dell'efficienza.
Nel parlare del linguaggio e dei segni stiamo parlando del pensiero umano, del comportamento umano, che è soprattutto materia segnica. Diventa importantissimo capire come funziona il segno per capire come funziona la produzione del pensiero, la relazione interpersonale con il mondo, il comportarsi. Victoria Welby mi interessa perché un concetto fondamentale che lei elabora è proprio questo del senso materno, mother sense, che potrebbe essere anche accostata a ciò che Jane Vaughan chiama the faculty of language, un congegno, cioè prima del linguaggio verbale, un dispositivo orientato, e la cosa interessante è questa, dall'altro, per l'altro, cioè un dispositivo a monte, prima della costruzione, diciamo, del sociale. Jane parla di una capacità, una facoltà altercentrico, facoltà che si esprime pienamente, no? Proprio nella condizione di mothering, bellissimo termine in inglese, non abbiamo il corrispettivo in italiano, to mother, da cui poi lei derivi il termine mother, chi fa da madre. E comunque questo mother sense, questo dispositivo che ci caratterizza in quanto persone umane, in quanto specie umana, no? È un dispositivo per il dono, cioè questo è molto interessante, questa capacità primordiale per il dono, per l'altro, per l'apertura all'altro.
Se non è una presunta natura che spinge, per esempio, le donne alla cura, se non possiamo accettare, diciamo, questa torsione ideologica penalizzante del concetto di cura, che cos'è che spinge alla cura? Che cosa motiva la cura? La mia prima risposta è la tensione verso l'altro richiede la percezione del soggetto della propria stessa vulnerabilità. In altre parole, un soggetto è disposto alla cura, tende alla cura, è capace di cura solo nel momento in cui riconosce il suo stesso bisogno di cura. Questo vuol dire anche che noi dobbiamo e possiamo considerare la cura una dimensione universale, quindi non soltanto femminile. Dobbiamo andare verso una nozione di cura che riesca a coniugare in sé universalità e particolarità, perché la cura non può che essere universale, ma è anche quanto di più particolare, una dimensione quanto mai particolare, è attenzione al quotidiano, è attenzione al dettaglio, è capacità di entrare nel contesto, è capacità di vedere la specificità e la singolarità dell'altro, e così via, e così via, e così via. E per finire, allora, qual è la motivazione del dono? Qual è la motivazione della cura? Una volta detto che tutto questo richiede la destituzione del soggetto patriarcale della sua posizione sovrana e l'integrazione della nostra, il riconoscimento della nostra vulnerabilità, non si può non evocare una motivazione fondamentale che è quella dell'amore.
Secondo me il tema della vulnerabilità è un tema centrale per capire le organizzazioni e il dono, le organizzazioni, le imprese anche il dono. C'è un paradosso al cuore delle moderne organizzazioni capitalistiche, per dire una parola un po' antica ma sempre efficace, delle imprese, delle organizzazioni, è che si capisce che la generatività, la creatività dei lavoratori ha bisogno di fiducia, si intuisce che la fiducia vera è sempre vulnerabile, è esposta all'abuso, altrimenti non è fiducia, ma si odia la vulnerabilità nelle imprese come il grande nemico, perché le imprese odiano esporsi all'altro. Qui c'è un grande tema legato al maschile e al femminile, cioè questa idea che è stata teorizzata, praticata nell'Ottocento e nel Novecento in particolare, che la ferita è totalmente femminile. Quindi la vulnerabilità è a casa, non nell'impresa, non nella politica. Guai mostrarsi vulnerabili al lavoro, non fai carriera. Quindi o noi oggi ci reinventiamo una cultura pubblica della vulnerabilità dei maschi e delle femmine, oppure continueremo a raccontare storie dove vorremmo ospitare anche la donna nei luoghi di lavoro, ma sempre come ospiti, mai come protagoniste.
Noi non possiamo accettare la concezione che il soggetto ci proviene dalla storia della filosofia, ma dobbiamo appunto aprirci ad una visione riproblematizzata appunto del soggetto. Il soggetto che dona, è stato detto giustamente, ha una serie di caratteristiche, soprattutto appunto questa come dire apertura necessaria alla alterità, all'altro, quindi la relazionalità. Ecco, io credo che sia da scavare all'interno di questo concetto di reciprocità, che precisamente è molto diverso dal concetto di scambio, dove là si parla di una relazione, vorrei dire, nello scambio, no? Una relazione di tipo secondario. Nella reciprocità ci muoviamo in un ambito immediato, vorrei dire familiare. Si tratta di vedere, di portare questo tipo di reciprocità nel pubblico, io dico, no? Anche la reciprocità deve diventare un concetto applicabile, applicato e fruibile nell'ambito politico, dico io, cioè nella polis, nell'agorà. Ma la reciprocità a sua volta poi è un continente di concetti, cioè la reciprocità al suo interno comporta tutta una serie di concetti su cui il pensiero femminista si è molto impegnato, cioè il concetto di fiducia, il concetto appunto di legame, il concetto di scommessa e di rischio. Tutto questo, secondo me, da che cosa è tenuto insieme? È tenuto insieme da un impegno etico, perché il soggetto riproblematizzato di cui parlavo prima è un soggetto che assume un impegno etico nuovo e porta quell'impegno etico nella sua attività.
For me in activism, one of the things that we learn is that change happens through culture. So as we give, we change culture, and then we can make our way to the giving economy. But it all takes little steps and I always see it as little bricks building. And we tend to want to look to the end instead of the building of the bricks. So I'm always appreciative of whatever form it takes, that it's a practice, and that we learn from the practice of giving. So it's a constant spiraling into a place that I've experienced of an unconditional space of giving, of unconditional love. And I think from that place, we could start to see the gifts we live inside of. And when they start to take them away from us, like water and air, parks, we'll fight back harder. And like with water, we'll value it more and not allow it to be polluted, as our air, our water are the things that are free to us and that are what life is. And so what I've done, because I hate private property, I didn't want ever to have money that needed to earn money, because that was in another culture that I didn't want to be part of. So I wanted to buy things that could be gifted and that people could experience a gifting community together, so we could learn together what that even meant. And I've had an amazing time watching how hard it is for us to receive, to understand what a gift is, to understand, to be comfortable with the freedoms inside of that and the responsibilities inside of that. But what I can say is that in the space of gifting, there's so much imagination, and that nothing could have happened like what's happened in these spaces if somebody got paid to do it. That there's something that happens in the magic of the gift. And one other thing is the storytelling. We have to tell the stories, because it's in the storytelling that we feel it, we recognize it inside of ourselves, and we learn. And that gifting itself is abundance. And thank you for the gift of your time.
I did inherit $1 million when I was 21. The instruction was start a business, start a foundation, or put it back into the community. And I chose to put money back into the community. And so one of my very first gifts, and I send you love from the Women's Building of San Francisco. I had bought a house with some money I made in Celestial Seasonings tea when I was 24. And I mortgaged that house to help buy the Women's Building of San Francisco, which was a growing nonprofit. At that time, it had $9,000. It had no assets whatsoever. And the building is now worth well over $8 million. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been to see it. And I worked there for 20 years. So we grew not just the Women's Building, but also women's foundations. And the violence against women movement, all kinds of things in the early 70s in San Francisco. And it was a great healing for me, because I'd grown up in a very violent family. And one thing that we began to think was, what is a framework that might really shift, instead of thinking of security as something that is about armament, can we create a new framework that really is about, that security is about community, and it's about gifting, and it's about being there and being present for others. And we found that if we could grow women's foundations or women's giving circles, that women were the natural first adopters of these models. And so we had the idea of creating 100 of these women's foundations. Estrella and Mama Cash here in Amsterdam, we all met in 1985 together to create a global movement. And we had the idea of creating 100. There are 160 now all over the world. And we've raised $1.5 billion through them for women. And so what I began to push on for myself was, this question, which came also in meditation: what are you uniquely called to do? What are you uniquely called to do right now? So my call was really around donor leadership, was growing great donors and their leadership. From all over the world, I was called to actually begin to work with some women and families with wealth. So I spent a third of my time as a philanthropic advisor with donors and their families, a third with nonprofit leaders, activists and people from the ground trying to figure out how to get money, and a third as a movement strategist.
L'ipotesi che ho seguito è: potrebbe essere possibile cambiare radicalmente il nostro sistema economico, cioè possiamo entrare in quella che a livello delle analisi del pensiero teorico si chiama il pensiero della decrescita, cioè del degrowth, cioè del dire il sistema capitalistico non è risolutivo, dobbiamo cambiare il modello, il paradigma, cioè dobbiamo entrare in un sistema economico radicalmente, totalmente diverso. Però il punto fondamentale è che richiede una modifica della struttura e, attenzione, perché questo è il punto che poi vorrei approfondire, un nuovo immaginario, cioè delle immagini per la società, per le società, con tutte le diversità delle diverse etnie, paesi, popolazioni, però con delle immagini completamente diverse. Allora è su questo punto, in questo ragionamento, che per me si dovrebbe inserire il meccanismo del dono, cioè inserendo l'ipotesi della economia del dono come punto di partenza per la modifica del paradigma. Quindi attenzione, non un'economia del dono all'interno del sistema dominante, ma un qualcosa in netta contrapposizione. Il secondo compito della dinamica dell'economia del dono dovrebbe essere evidenziare tutte le libere scelte umane in favore di attività socialmente utili, ma fino a quel momento lasciate in scopertura o addirittura impedite. Quindi qui non si parla più solo della cura della famiglia, la casa, eccetera, eccetera, ma si parla, non so, di attività scientifica. Quindi questo discorso è estremamente importante perché allarga il campo. Quindi l'economia del dono è il nucleo iniziale e più profondo di una economia alternativa al sistema economico attuale. Grazie.
When we say that the gift in its various manifestations is deeply connected to life itself, we are trying to leave the anthropocentric perspective behind us. The global crisis we are experiencing right now is a planetarian one, a crisis which shocks every dimension of life, and even the planet itself is deeply shocked by it. Patriarchy as alchemistic system transforms the gift in an anti-gift, in a poison. It tries to take the gift giving and receiving out of its context and to pervert it. Churches, hospitals, schools, universities, supermarkets, barracks, credit institutes, factories, just to name a few, are alchemistic created wants, artificial and allegedly better male-created mothers. They can only be established by the mortification of the real, the gift-giving and caring mothers. women or matriarchal communities, and especially planet Earth as the big mother who gives us life. If we take a close look at the word crisis, we understand that it means decision, but also separating. This is what is really in the core of patriarchy, the separating of mothers and children, of giver, receiver, human being, nature, body, soul, and mind, and so on. We will have to recognize the deadly roots of this system at all levels of society, history, individual life, and the globe. The alternative has to be non-capitalistic and it has to be non-patriarchal. It should be based on the remains of what we call a matriarchal and gift-based culture within patriarchal society, even though this has been violently made invisible to most of us. It can be made conscious again. Imagine this system without non-paid work. For example, the work of the mothers, caring work, housework, voluntary work, and so on and so on. Imagine the system without giving and receiving, without mothering. It would crash. We couldn't survive. And that's the key. We will have to reconnect to these life-giving and mothering practices in every dimension of our lives. Thank you.
To me, so incredible to simply have a theoretical distinction between giving and exchange. It's a definition. These are paradigms. They aren't just choices. Am I going to give or am I going to charge a fee? They're paradigms. They're ways of being. They are so totally different. And when you can see that thing structurally, so much more becomes evident and possible and necessary. Giving is a relationship. This is about being human, which is to be in relation, and in relation with all our relations. It's a flow. So that an exchange breaks that because it's self-referential. By definition, once you're into exchange, it's about you. And that's true of equal exchange, and it's true of unequal exchange. It's not just in exploited exchange. It's because it's not giving. It's that simple. You know, the Marxists are looking for a new economic man to somehow create a different, and the Christians are looking for all these transcendental religions are looking for creating new beings. This isn't to create a new thing. It's not just to get a different test tube and make different things. It's to really see what we have been for all these many, many, many hundreds of thousands of years until just a bit of a distortion a few thousand years ago. If you have a matriarchal context or a pre-patriarchal, humanarchal context, you have social structures that are organic. They're based on real relationships. Mothers with their children, brothers and sisters, and the sisters' children, everybody has a secure place. Everybody knows they're loved.
Woman, sweet like summer corn, you're a woman. And to the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. You're sister of mine.
In one generation, we can lose all the knowledge if we don't share stories. So my action is support mothers in storytelling.
You heal the sick, you feed the poor.
The people of the corn, the people of the wheat, and the people of the rice. These three main groups have been invaded and colonized through genetic engineering.
The energy of lesbian feminist activists in the 1970s was boundless. The joy of finding each other for the first time fueled the flames.
Perché se noi continuiamo ad adoperare i concetti maschili,
finiamo per rafforzare il sistema. Non solo, secondo me nessuno può essere soggetto se prende a prestito la mente di un altro.
Sweet sister of mine.
Noi dovremmo essere funzionali e accettare quest'idea che o sei funzionale o non mangi, o produci o non mangi. Ecco, una forma sociale diversa, è quella del dono.
So the gift for me is the thing that surprises me beautifully, that I don't expect, and warms my heart. It reminds me I'm human.
Sweet sister of mine. And from the moon we'll let the light illuminate the dark, take back the night. Channel love, oh love is strong. You regain your rightful place before too long. 'Cause you're a woman, sweet like summer corn, a woman. To the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. Sweet sister of mine.
Did you get one?
Hey, I'm talking to you, woman. Pure like winter snow, you're a woman. And it's time for you to know that you're strong and you got power. You're getting stronger by the hour. Like a flower, you need rain. And when it rains, it pours. Hey, I'm a sister of yours. Hear me now, woman, sweet like summer corn, a woman. To the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. Sweet sister of mine. Isis, Astarte, Diana, Asherat, teach us of the mysteries that we forgot. Virgin, girl child, Madonna, old crow, the faces of the moon let you know you're not alone. You're a woman, raped and cheated for too long. A woman, to the goddess you belong, beautiful woman. Sweet sister of mine. And from the moon we'll gather light, illuminate the dark, take back the night. You channel love, oh love is strong. You regain your rightful place before too long. 'Cause you're a woman, sweet like summer corn, a woman. To the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. Sweet sister of mine. Hey, I'm talking to you, woman. Pure like winter snow, you're a woman. And it's time for you to know that you're strong and you got power. You're getting stronger by the hour. Like a flower, you need rain. And when it rains, it pours. Hey, I'm a sister of yours. Hear me now, woman, sweet like summer corn, you're a woman. To the goddess you were born, beautiful woman. Sweet sister of mine. 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 Sweet sister of mine.